Chairman Bledsoe. That ends the Wildlife Committee, and I've been told I've botched the heck out of it, so.
I think you've done great. I think you've done great.
Mr. Teague said I needed a Snickers bar, so.
All right. Bobby said his presentation was short, so moving right along to Fisheries Division, Chairman David Watson.
I'd like to call Bobby Wilson, Chief of Fisheries.
It'll be short if I can find the presentation. Did it? Found it. Okay, as you all know, trout fishing, in particular tailwater trout fishing, is very popular in Tennessee, and the majority of the trout that we stock in our tailwaters, our cold tailwaters, come from Dale Hollow National Fish Hatchery. And basically there's two power entities that control these dams, and one is the Corps of Engineers and one is the Tennessee Valley Authority. And Dale Hollow was built in 1965, and it was constructed just to produce trout to stock in these cold tailwaters in which they were altered back when those dams were built. And I think we have 12 TVA tailwaters, and there's also some in Georgia as well that are stocked with trout from the Dale Hollow National Fish Hatchery. But Dale Hollow produces and stocks more trout in Tennessee tailwaters than we stock and produce from our own state hatcheries in various Tennessee waters. So very important in our trout fishery as far as stocking goes in our state. And then Irwin National Fish Hatchery is a brood fish or egg hatchery. They don't really stock a lot of fish. Sometimes they'll stock brood fish, but they're there to function as providing eggs for not only for Dale Hollow, but also for some of our state hatcheries and other trout hatcheries across the country. But in 2010, there were rumors that the Fish and Wildlife Service were going to shut down mitigation hatcheries, and that caused quite a stir. The Fish and Wildlife Service were changing directions and the way they were operating. They were getting out of the sport fish business for the most part and focusing mostly on threatened and endangered species of fish. So they were talking about shutting down all of the mitigation trout hatcheries, those hatcheries that were there to produce trout for stocking below these dams that have cold water. So there's 3 Corps of Engineer tailwaters that are stocked by Dale Hollow, and there's 12 TVA tailwaters. And there's also 4 reservoirs that are stocked with fish from the Dale Hollow National Fish Hatchery too. These are lake trout and brown trout, stocked in like Dale Hollow Lake and South Holston Lake, Watauga Lake, Chilhowie, I believe. So when all this was going on, Senator Alexander facilitated an interagency memorandum of agreement between the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Tennessee Valley Authority, the Tennessee Wildlife, and the Georgia DNR to seek a permanent source of funding to support trout production and stocking for Tennessee and Georgia. And this group met. They had several public meetings. They had a lot of information. They had comments from the public. The basic group of the 4 there met about every 3 months to discuss other ways. Is there any way of looking for sources of funding? And just last week on May 11th, 2015, Senator Alexander gathered the group together. As you can see, Director Carter there, and I believe it's Bill Johnson from Tennessee Valley Authority, and that's Michael Edker from next to Senator Alexander is from the Fish and Wildlife Service, and Dernovant from Georgia DNR. They all met at the Irwin National Fish Hatchery, and Senator Alexander made an announcement that there's been a more permanent source of funding identified. The Tennessee Valley Authority stepped up to the plate and agreed to pay for the production of the fish that are going to go into their tailwater areas. And the Fish and Wildlife Service agreed to pay for the maintenance cost, and the TWA and the Georgia DNR agreed to do their part and continue on what they're doing with stocking trout. So it was a pretty big deal. It's a real big deal for the trout fishers in Tennessee that this happened, and really like to congratulate Tennessee Valley Authority for stepping up to the plate and providing that funding. So I just wanted to make that announcement. Said it will be short, and it is. Well, just one other point though, at Dale Hall National Fish Hatchery, we funded an expansion there in 1992, and we still continue to fund an additional 100,000 pounds of trout that go into these tailwaters at $100,000 a year. This is over and above what they're required to stock, and we've been doing it for over 20 years now. So just want to make a point of that. Any questions?
Bobby, how long is that commitment for?
I don't think they've signed a term yet. We discussed maybe a 30-year or whatever, but I know it's going to go for probably 5 to start off with, and then we'll see from there. But
Okay.
yeah, haven't seen the agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions for the commission? Any questions from the public?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Watson. Moving on to the Budget Committee, Harold Cannon, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The Budget Committee recognizes Tim Cleveland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 2 budget expansion requests today. The first one is for $10,000 to the Montgomery County Shooting Complex, and it's to upgrade to the wireless trap release systems. Like I said, it's $10,000. It's all federal hunter ed money.
Do I have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Tim, second
Thank
one.
you. The second one is for $50,000 to the Harpeth Scholastic Shooting Sports Foundation. This is a situation where the old saying, if you build it, they will come. About, I guess in 2008 or 9, we built 3 trap and skeet fields at Haley Jaquith Wildlife Management Area. And thinking that there would be, at the time, there were 3 or 4 schools that were interested in beginning their SCTP programs and getting kids involved in that program and shooting there. We now have 11 schools there now. There are over 100 and they're right at 150 kids that are participating in the SCTP program there. There are 3 schools that are waiting. We have completely filled up all the time, as much time as we can possibly give them, and there are still 3 schools that are still waiting. So we are going to expand to 2 more additional trap fields, and that's what this money is for. It is, it's all federal money as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cleveland. This is the good stuff for kids. Do I have any questions?
Yeah,
from
I
the
got a
commission?
question. Just 2 field expansion? I mean, if you got that much demand, if you're gonna do the construction, why don't you add 3 or 4?
Well, I think that this is probably looking at a phased approach to this. It won't surprise me if we do this again later on down the road. Marshall County has a program, an SCT program. They have 53 kids, and they're waiting to bring 53 more kids out there. Right now, the foundation, the Harpeth Scholastic Sports Foundation, they believe that they can handle those additional schools with these 2 additional fields right now.
I move for approval.
Could I ask Mike Butler to comment on this? I'd like to know what the demand is down there. Like you said, Commissioner Cannon, this is the good stuff, and we don't want to be short if we're going.
Well, I would just.
Let's not do short jokes.
Mike
okay?
Butler.
That's the, come on.
Mike Butler with the Wildlife Federation. I'll just comment that this facility was really the brainchild of former Commissioner Magley and some other folks in Franklin, Tennessee. And they started off as a subgroup of TWF, and then we helped create this Harpeth Scholastic Shooting Sports Foundation for them. We actually built that 501c3 for them to get on and create a board and do all that work. Then they reached out and started working with the agency at the Haley Jaquith WMA, and we helped them raise some money. We contributed and supported that to get it started, and as Tim mentioned, it's blown up. And I'll just give you an example. I mean, my daughter's middle school and Franklin High School have 2 new teams this year, and we're expecting more and more and more expansion. So I would agree that a 2-field expansion is probably better than going with a 4-field expansion. It makes sense. And the reason I would say that is you've got a lot of other demand for that you're going to see coming. We've been working with committees of volunteers to find locations for facilities in Memphis, Chattanooga area. You mentioned Marshall County, and there are other people. You got Greenville going on right now. You've got, I know, at least some people talking to Region 3 out of the Crossville area, things like that. So I would say it would make sense to go incrementally, pay as you go, make sure that we don't get way out in front of our growth.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Commissioner Swan, if you could hold on your motion a minute. Commissioner Watson, you had a question, I believe. Are you good? Okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Swan, are you still with us?
Yes,
On the motion? All right. I have a second. Any discussion on the committee? Any discussion from the public? All in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Tim, obviously by the conversation here, the spirit of this committee is, if we have the opportunity to do more, we'd like that chance. So please pass that on, if
Yes,
you don't
sir.
mind. Thank you, Tim. The committee recognizes Barry Sumners, I believe, for 2 budget expansions as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Cannon, and yes, we got a couple, and these are big ones. You'll find, I just got 2 maps here on the slides, and you'll find these in your notebooks in the budget section, I think. First one, we've got what's known as the Beasley Tract, or sometimes also called the Buffalo Ridge Tract. It's in Region 1 in West Tennessee. We've been working with the landowner there. We think we've got it worked out so that we will spend all federal money on this. The landowner will make the match by foregoing part of the value of this property. And we are asking for a budget expansion of 1 million, wait a minute. This one,
3.75
What is-
million, I believe.
this one is $3,750,000.
Again, this is going to be with Pittman Robertson, am I saying that right? Monies?
That is correct.
That'll
all
be
federal money.
75%. The property owner is providing the 25% match through the discount of the property. Do I have a motion?
This is not a big deal, but is it 1,703 acres or 1,953 acres?
Yeah, I noticed we had a little discrepancy there too, but part of that is because if you look closely at the map, there is a section there that the owner is going to retain. So if he didn't retain part, then it would be 1953, but the owner is keeping part of this property.
How much is he keeping, Barry?
This says 250 acres. I think I'd also heard 200 mentioned at one point, so I'm not.
All right, let me, just point of clarification, the other expansion you're about to touch to bring before us is for 1,753 acres. This one is for 1,953 acres, as you have on the map. I wonder if we're getting the 2 confused.
No, I think he's included the 250 in the 1,703, which makes it 1953. I just wonder which one it was, for sure.
Okay. Do we know where we are on this, or?
No, sir, I'm not familiar. All I've got is what's in front of me here. I'm not familiar enough to tell you exactly how many acres are in each of these. They are both certainly large tracts.
We have a very large tract of land that's being
very
proposed
large
to be
tract.
purchased. That's at least 1,700 acres for $3.75 million, federal funds and local match.
Clarity on that tomorrow.
We'll get, and it will be clarified tomorrow.
And maybe a description, it's late now, but I'd like to know what's going there, because I hear it's a lot of good stuff.
Is the committee comfortable in moving this forward to the commission tomorrow with the understanding that there will be clarification to the size, the actual size of this tract?
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion within the committee? Any discussion within the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Barry, one more track.
Okay, thank you. And for this one, I am fairly certain it's gonna be 1,703 acres. This next one's the one where I would question a little bit about exactly how much we're getting, but, this one is adjoining Catoosa Wildlife Management Area. This map's at a different scale, but this one is also another large tract. We're asking for $1,750,000. Same source of money. Again, it's all federal money from the Pittman Roberts Center, also known as the Wildlife Restoration Federal money.
This is a budget expansion for $1.75 million to purchase the McCart, I hope I'm saying that right, track in Morgan County. I'm going to ask if the committee is comfortable moving this forward, subject to clarification on the acreage, because the exhibit we have on the screen right now is different than the information we have in our packets. Do I have, under that condition, and it be clarified before tomorrow's meeting? Do I have a
moved.
motion?
Second.
All in favor say, or excuse me, any more discussion on the committee? Any discussion from the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Chairman, it's back to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Moving forward, is there, Director Carter, do you have anything further? Anything from the audience? Speak now, forever hold your peace. If not, we stand pardon? Sorry.
You may have already done this, or Director Carter, but it would be appropriate, I think, for us to write a letter to Senator Alexander thanking him for his help with that Dale Hollow Fish Hatchery.
Thank you. Chairman, one other thought.
Last thought, and most of the folks have left. Staff's presentations on some very important and very tough subjects today, compared to where we were a month ago, remarkable. I said that at the beginning of this meeting, and we didn't let up. And the way you all have presented it, I just say, well done. The way you've managed it, well done. So I personally thank you for the way that this has been handled. It has helped us a lot. You answered questions before we had to ask them, so thank you.
Anything else from the commission, from the audience? If not, we stand adjourned until 9 a.m. in the morning, May 22nd.